Welcome to another weekly featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, James Moffat, where he will gracefully take our featured guest on a personal and business journey and stories that will inspire, educate, and engage you.
Hello and welcome to another Friday Featured Business brought to you by your host, myself, James Moffat. And today on Featured Business, we have our 118th guest, 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗘𝗗. I'm not very good at names, so Doris, welcome. And you are our 118th guest and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Congratulations for the number.
Is it a special number for you?
No, but it's impressive, I think.
Yes. Actually, numbers, I'm very much into numbers. And a lot of the time when a guest has a number, it's completely random because they get the next available number. I said, oh, that's my lucky number. And it's happened many, many times. So 118 doesn't ring any bells or?
118, actually. No, doesn't ring a bell.
Come on, 118, 118.
118, yeah.
Oh, it does ring a bell then. Actually, that was a bit of a pun, actually. Pun not intended. 118, 118. That's the UK one, isn't it? Yeah. Because the number changed, actually, for dialing directory inquiries when you wanted to find...
118 in Switzerland is the emergency number too.
Is it?
I never use it, so...
Yeah. Good.
Yes, 118 emergency. Hey, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're here because it's an emergency, right? It's an emergency. We had to hear your story.
I think with the students I'm working, many are in an emergency state, actually. So we're going to talk about that, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Doris, welcome. So we're going to take you on a journey from your childhood to where you are now. And for the audience listening, if you couldn't make the live show, then the recording's available. It's on the YouTube channel. So we'll share the links afterwards and all the links to connect with Doris. All right. So during this, we do have an audience here. You'll only see them when they actually speak because it's on speaker mode recording. So Doris, let's get going. So first of all, where are you living now and where are you originally from?
I'm living in the French-speaking part of Switzerland right now. I'm originally from the German-speaking part of Switzerland, Zurich, but I left when I was around 20 years of age and I never went back there to live. So,
right, so you
ever
left
since I've been abroad.
Okay, so you only left a few years ago then?
Yeah, kind of.
Right.
Depending on the perspective of life, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, true. So I'm very curious about, I mean, I know because I've read the speaker notes, but I'm very curious about the places that you've lived and the languages that you speak. So growing up in Zurich,
yeah.
Obviously you speak Swiss German there.
Yes.
And now you live in Lausanne in the French-speaking part, you speak French. So growing up, you obviously learned French at school as well.
Yes, it's kind of basic French because, yeah, in Switzerland, school system is you learn one of the other 4 languages that are spoken in the country. And but actually, I really learned French when I went abroad for studies to get a French degree.
All right. So you went to French-speaking countries then, obviously.
Yes. I've lived in Paris for a while after my studies, and I toured a bit Europe to learn languages. So I lived in London to learn English, obviously. I've lived in Paris for the French side, and I've lived in Madrid for getting a Spanish degree.
Okay, so
yeah,
congratulations on the languages. You probably I mean, Galia's on the call as well. So Galia lived a lot of the time in London as well. And I also lived in London because I'm originally from the UK. And I lived in London before I went off on my ventures to live in the Netherlands and then here in Switzerland.
You're wearing skirt.
Sorry?
You are from that part of the world where people are wearing skirt.
I thought you said that. Well, you could call it a skirt if you like. Well, it's actually a kilt.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm joking.
Very sexy, I think.
Yeah. I got married in my kilt, actually, in Brazil. My wife's Brazilian. I got married there. It was the first time I saw a guy in a skirt. Right. Anyway, that's another story. So, yes. So let's just take you down memory lane for now. So back to your childhood. So growing up in Zurich, you have any siblings?
Any what? Sorry?
Siblings.
Oh, yes. I have an older sister who lives in Canada since, 40 years, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
But she obviously, I mean, ventured away. I mean, that's the first place that she went to. I mean, after Switzerland.
Yes. She went away and always lived over there then. Yeah.
All right.
So we're kind of a nomad family.
And your parents, were they travelers as well?
Not that much because they didn't have really the means to travel. But we, when I was really small, we went to camping vacations all the time. So, and my father loved to travel, and he went on retirement in France because my parents divorced when I was a kid still. So, but my mother actually introduced me to the virus of traveling, and she was very smart because she chose the places we traveled according to my history courses at school. So when we did the French Revolution, we traveled to Paris and to Versailles and everything. And when we studied the Austrian-Hungarian history, we went to Vienna and to Budapest, etc. So I've really learned quite early to dig into culture and history and to link the way of living to it. And this is why I went abroad to study my languages, because immersion is really the best way to get the whole thing of it, and not only the intellectual part of a language, but the emotional part, the history, etc. And I think, yeah, that's my way of looking at people and culture and travel.
I think it's very important because you can learn English, but you don't understand the culture of the English. Yeah. And it's not until you actually live there that they don't actually speak the English that you learn either. So, because there's accents and also there's slang, and there's also quirky ways that different types of people, depending on where they live, speak. So, and then the food varies as well. If you're in one part of, like UK as an example, if you're in one part of the UK, you'll eat certain type of food, another part you'll eat another. It's like in Scotland, you're not going to eat, I mean, you're going to eat haggis in Scotland. Well, maybe not now, but I mean, a lot of Scottish people do. But you're not necessarily going to eat that in the south of England. So, yeah, it's good to understand not just the language, but the culture behind the language.
Yes. You get the flavor. When you're there, you get the flavor of the society. And if you, as you said, Doris, you need to immerse. And if you do, you just soak into the environment. And it is much easier afterwards with everything.
Yeah. Later on, I've become a culinary specialist working worldwide. And I studied religion and food, which is fascinating because linking actually the history of a country and the people to their religion and what that translates to in the plate is absolutely amazing. And so when you look at Catholic countries, they will have more abundance in their plates than when you look at Protestant Nordic countries. That's way more frugal or things like that, kind of. It really translates into how people eat, how people serve, and what's the kind of sharing that's going on. And I think this is really, as you said, it gives you the flavor of how people live. And food is one of the big cultural pillars we do have in our lives. And actually, when you are sad or having a heartache, you will turn to comfort foods that come from your childhood. Yeah, so it's really, the body has this cellular memory of tastes and foods that starts in the womb of the mother, actually.
Yeah, I completely
Taste
agree.
is the first of the 6 senses that we develop, the very first.
Yeah, so I shan't talk about fish and chips then.
Oh, why not?
No, but that's a cultural thing as well. I mean, it's traditional to have fish and chips in the UK. And there's actually no fish and chip shop that I've seen in Switzerland.
No, I don't think so.
Well, maybe I'll have to open one.
Try.
But you're right. I mean, the food means a lot, but in each country, and also, I mean, just digressing a bit, it's the way that people eat it. And I mean, in the UK, if you go down the pub with your friends and you all have a pint of beer, as an example, I mean, you'll just say cheers in general, and very reluctant if you actually touch your glasses together. Whereas in Switzerland and in the Netherlands, you have to be memory man and remember people's names, because you can't drink your drink until you've toasted everybody and touched their glass. And everybody has to do it in turn. And by that time, the drink's not cold anymore, right? Because if it's a big group, then by the time everybody's remembered everybody's name and done cheers and Prost, then yeah. But so you have to remember people's names, because it's embarrassing if you don't. You think, oh, I can't go first because I don't know their names. So you have to wait for someone and then remember their names and go like cheers. And but if you didn't do that, I mean, I've noticed when I had colleagues that came over to Switzerland and they didn't know that, and they just like cheers and start drinking their drink, and everybody else is like, hey, how rude. I mean, they're going around like, so sometimes if you don't know, just pause for a minute before you eat or before you talk or before you do anything, and just observe and then see how people are doing it. And then even, I mean, I ask then, I just say, look, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this. Do you do anything in a particular way? Because I don't want to appear to be rude. And I think the fact that you say that, then it kind of, that's your get out of jail card, and people then are more open to receiving you.
Yeah, I think talking is always the best. And I mean, no one knows it all. I've traveled really to all continents, to so many different places. Just asking, please tell me how to sit, or in Asian countries, the way you sit, even if you sit at a table, or if you are invited to a home, or if you sit on the floor, or if you go to visit a temple, you're going to sit in a different way, and you just need to ask, because you can't know it all, so and showing oneself's vulnerability and not knowing puts the other person in a very comfortable situation, because this person becomes your guide. And then you can build trust with people, because I will trust, if I ask you how to do, it's a movement of I trust you to tell me the right thing to do. Right? So please be my guide.
Exactly. But that's in life in general. I mean, if you don't know how to do something, ask. The biggest problem is people don't ask.
Mm-hmm.
They either think they know and make mistakes, or they make it up as they go along. I just remember also coming to Switzerland. It's very traditional that you take your shoes off from the street, and then you leave them there, and you either put slippers on or walk around without any shoes on in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And that was never a thing in the UK. And when I go back to the UK, I walk in the house and I'm automatically taking my shoes off, right, and my kids as well, and leave them at the door. And my family are saying, why are you taking your shoes off? And I said, well, these are outdoor things, and now I'm indoors. I don't want to make a mess or anything. But it's not a cultural thing there. I mean, maybe more so for people that travel, but it's not that thing. And it took me a while to get used to it, but now I do it. I don't think there's any other way it makes sense. Take your shoes off when you walk in someone's house.
Yeah.
Is that something?
In most parts of the world, you will take your shoes off.
In Bulgaria, is that the same? Galia?
Yes, even not. It's actually seeing the person that is rude.
Mm-hmm.
And for Japanese and Chinese people, especially, that's very rude action.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, we could talk all day about house rules and things and food. So let's understand some more stories from Doris. All right. So growing up as a kid, typical things that you enjoyed, and sports, outdoors, what did you enjoy?
Yeah, I was a very, very quirky kid, moving all the time. Perhaps today I would be put on Ritalin. I was walking on the roofs. I was climbing the trees. I was in acrobatic school. I did gymnastics at the competition level, ski, of course, in Switzerland, lots of outdoors, swimming, etc. But probably, my mom was very brave, because I think that I gave her some headaches doing, for her, dangerous things, but for me it was just normal stuff.
So you mentioned gymnastics.
Yeah.
And I mean, to get to competition levels, you must have been pretty good then.
Yes, I was at Swiss national team.
Wow.
It required a lot of discipline and very hard at that time. I was at the same time than Nadia Comaneci or people like that, right? Or 𝗚𝗨𝗘𝗗𝗏, but not at their level. But still at a small Swiss level, it required a lot of discipline. Yes.
And your sister was into this, or were you completely different?
Totally different, day and night.
All right.
Yes.
Right. So when you're at school, I mean, academically wise as well, I mean, did you favor any types of subjects or fields or areas that you wanted to focus on?
Not really. Not really. School was kind of the mandatory thing. And as soon as I could, I left the school system for professional training through apprenticeships and other high-level education, but not the academic path for many reasons. I was not, I didn't adapt actually to the traditional school system so well. I had extremely high grades, perfect grades, like 5.5, 5.8 out of 6. So that was not the issue. Very very much later, I found out that I was actually high potential. So then I understood why I worked the way I worked at school, because actually I never did my homework and I just threw it on the paper and it was okay, kind of thing. But it wasn't challenging enough, I would say, for me. And that's why I wanted really to go into professional training where you do things, concrete things, where you transform things, where there is a result at the end. That's basically the red thread throughout what I've ever done in my life, with activities where there is transformation, there is embellishment, there is revelation of the essence, and making things beautiful, making things tasting nice. That was actually always something that was one of my main motivations.
Yeah, I completely concur with that. I say that because I think about my own education. And yeah, I was a good student when it came to things I enjoyed. When it's something I didn't have a passion or desire for wanting to learn, I was a daydreamer. But only a daydreamer because I didn't feel connected with the subject. Whereas if it's a subject I was top of the class. I was the one that wanted to be there, and I'd ask all the questions and I'd get involved. But then another class, I could be the complete opposite. And it wasn't because I didn't have the capacity, it's that I didn't have the interest. And you can't force someone to be interested in something that either they are or they're not. But it also helps with the teacher. If the teacher, a boring teacher, can make a great subject boring, and a great teacher can make a boring subject great. So there's a lot of things to consider. But I did have on my report that James could do so much more if he wasn't such a daydreamer. Right? But I thought the daydreaming was actually more valuable than the lesson. But that's another story. But yeah, I see it now.
I have empathy for that. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. But I see it also with my kids. I mean, my eldest son, academically, he's gifted, but he doesn't want to be in these classes. He's got no desire, so then he causes trouble. But then for the other things that he's good at, he excels at, and he's way ahead. So but nobody talks about kind of, which we'll allude to later on, is like emotional intelligences and persona types and the frames of mind that you're in, and mindset in general. It's like you do this because that's part of the curriculum, not because you want to do it. And Einstein actually said, you don't start learning until you leave school. And you've probably learned so much more outside of school, particularly with all your travels, because it's also important, culturally wise, when you're connecting with people, to understand people. But anyway, so I just wanted to touch on some of the stories that you shared with me here that are memorable. So with your encounters, so I'm just going to pick one at random. So, I mean, you had a dolphin encounter.
Yes.
I love dolphin encounters, and I've had dolphin dreams, but I want to hear your story.
Yeah, I've always dreamt to go on to sea. I mean, I'm Pisces, I'm a water person. And when I finally was able to get my certification, my diving certification, I went many times to dive cruises. And one of those, we were wreck diving in the Red Sea and gathering down at the wreck, and just gathering before going into the wreck. And there was a dolphin swimming towards us, and so obviously we stopped, and the dolphin was circling around us, and then he swam away, and we thought, wow, that's amazing. And then he came back with the whole colony. was kind of a test swim. Are those people okay? Can we approach, right? And they were maybe 15, a pack of 15 males, females, and babies, which is quite rare when dolphins approach humans when they have babies with them, right? And they just swam around us. We had eye contact with them. They were seeking eye contact. They were seeking physical contact. Whereas as a diver, you will never touch at your initiative, right? And it was a deep understanding between the divers and those dolphins, and really, really connecting, and I would say at an intellectual level, a vibrational level. And this was just unbelievable. They stayed. We then went into the wreck, and they stayed around the whole time. And we went to, we parted actually once we divers needed to join the surface again, right? And this was such a humbling experience and so unforgettable, and showing how precious this planet is and how much beauty there is. It was just incredible, really. And the thing that I retain is really the connection.
Yeah,
amazing.
I've only had the connection with dolphins in dreams, but blue ones in particular. But to actually physically be there, I mean, I did some scuba diving when I was younger, but we saw dolphins in the distance, but we never swam with any dolphins. And one was we went diving off the back of a boat, and another one we just walked into the sea, but with all our scuba equipment. So this was scuba diving that you were doing?
Yes, so, from the boat.
Right. So even with the goggles and everything on, you could still have that intimacy with the dolphins.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because they were seeking it. They were swimming in a way that they could cross our eyes. Right. So they were really seeking the contact. Because we cannot, I mean, you will not be fast enough to go after dolphin or something, right? So they really came and were, you know, driving by and looking into the eyes like this and staying there and really looking into the eye, like I look to the camera now, like, okay, who are you? All right. Okay. I see you. I see who you are. And then gliding away. You know, a really very, very strong connection.
So with that connection, because it's more kind of a spiritual connection, but also you're communicating non-verbally. I mean, maybe in your mind, you're saying things and they're picking up on that. And it's more telepathy.
I think it has to do with the vibrational frequency that your mind body will project outside, and animals that are sensitive as dolphins, they get that vibrational frequency. And they wouldn't have approached if we were in an aggressive state of mind, because they can feel that. I mean, you can feel it with dogs. When a person is afraid, it goes to a specific vibrational frequency, right? And so animals who don't have the communication skills that humans have, they need to rely on other information sources. And the vibrational frequency is one of them.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I get that with my cat, right? When we first got a kitten, right, I said to the kids, I got 3 small kids, I said, leave the cat alone. When the cat's ready, the cat will come to you. So they didn't take any notice of what I said. And I completely left the cat alone. And who created the first bond with the cat? Me, of course, because it came to me. It didn't see I was pushing anything or trying anything.
Yes.
I just let the cat be. And then when it felt comfortable, then it could sense that, and it came to me. And the kid's like, well, why is it coming to daddy and all of this? And I said, just leave the cat alone. It will come to you when it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly what you said about the dolphins. I mean, they came to you, but not just like the mum or the dad or scouter dolphins. I mean, the whole lot of them.
Yes.
I mean, so that trust, I mean, to have that and to have the whole kind of pack of dolphins or whatever you call them, school of dolphins, come to you is amazing.
Yeah, especially with the babies, you know. I mean, they were really small ones. I mean, they were not even 1 meter long, so really young babies.
Yeah. So I know we could talk about dolphins a lot. I just want to skip to the kind of, you've got tons and tons of places that you've visited, and we could talk the whole show about memorable experiences. I just want to touch on one more before we kind of move on. You also had an experience in Thailand.
Yes.
If you could share that one.
Yes. I was traveling a lot for business, and my chosen sister, Tassani, is Thai, and we spent actually time in a monastery, and I was really blessed to be initiated to spiritual practices by a Buddhist monk. And I learned not the religious part per se, but the metaphysical principles of Buddhism, and techniques such as walking meditation, breathing techniques there. And this encounter opened really a new path for me. And that was, I would say, maybe 20 years ago, in terms of personal growth and awareness. And ever since, I continue studying sciences of Buddhism and sciences of yoga. So this has nothing to do with putting incense and doing your exercise on a yoga mat. It's really the whole range of this science that is so rich and really a tool for self-development. And ever since, I'm practicing daily and progressing every day. It's like the onion. There's layers and layers and layers it will touch, and it's so enriching. And this is also what I convey to my students, to my clients, to get centered and to align the physicality with the mental and the emotional dimensions of the human being.
Absolutely love it. So,
yeah,
I mean, that was 20 years ago when you went to Thailand. So, but prior to that, throughout your life, and particularly your childhood, did you feel, I mean, because a lot of people grow up and they're completely disconnected with who they are. And it's not until later in life, either through a traumatic experience or some sort of pivotal turning point in their life, that they start to wake up and to start to question and to discover themselves. And a lot of the time, you can't do it yourself. You need someone to guide you.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a guide like, I mean, even the fact that you swam with dolphins, I mean, they're guiding you to a different mindset and different way of thinking. So it doesn't have to be a human necessarily that's guiding you. So it could be a situation and a calling and whatever. So then growing up as a child, did you have that feeling, or was it not until later in life through work and through experience and that it kind of started to make sense, and that's when you got more involved?
So it's very interesting. It started to make sense at a later stage, but I've always been like that. I've always been a very colorful parrot in a bunch of pigeons. if you like, in terms of a metaphor, and way too colorful, too noisy for the very strict Swiss German framework kind of thing. And I've studied quite early religion because my mother was a religious person, and I went with her to the offices of her church, and I didn't find the answers to my questions. And so I started to compare with other traditions and to see and to seek parallels and things that might tune in with who I was. So I was since quite young, I isolated myself kind of, because I didn't agree to fit in, which brought me into trouble sometimes, of course. But then later on in life, I understood why, and I understood more profound things. Yes.
Yeah, I can feel for that as well, because I think people's kind of awakening, I mean, it's more of an awakening to who you are, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because the surroundings change and influence all the time. But not knowing who you are is a fundamental part of life that should be taught at school. I mean, you don't teach someone who they are, you help them discover who they are. But yes, in the absence of that, then, I mean, every guest I've had, I've asked, what did they want to be when they left school? And yeah, did they have any idea? And most of them, not a clue. And because you're not steered in that direction. Actually, which I want to ask you is, just before we move on again, right? Because you were a gymnast, right? What did you want to be when you left school?
Before I left school, I wanted to join, as a child, I wanted to join the Swiss National Circus as an acrobat. I think I must have been 8 of age. And my mother didn't agree to that because that would have meant that I would live with the circus and that I wouldn't live with her. And so she didn't agree on that. And that was actually the thing I wanted to do.
Yeah. So
now that didn't happen.
I've actually been there to see, I mean, it's NEI, the Swiss National Circus. What did they do in the winter?
They are located in Rapperswil, on Lake of Zurich. They have their schools there. The children are in homeschooling there. They have the teachers there, and they have their special training for their for the spectacle, so for the show, also during the winter time, right? Yeah.
So I guess you went to see them many times.
Yes.
And did you ever approach them to say, I want to be part of the show?
Yes, of course.
All right.
I did. And I brought actually all the information to my mother, what that would mean and the financial aspects and things like that. I said, look, this is what they gave me. And I was really small. I mean, I didn't know even how I reached out because internet wasn't available. But I know that I brought an information kind of flyer to my mother with the conditions and the schooling and everything. And we went quite far. She did contact them, but when she saw then that I would year-long live with the circus, she said, oh, no. So, yeah, I really was very proactive already as a child, actually.
So how old were you at the time?
Around 8, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
I really wanted it, actually. Yeah.
So what stopped you? Your parents saying, or your mum saying, it's not a good idea?
Yes. So I needed to comply, basically.
So you never did do it?
No.
Right. But you've kept your physicality in the way that you've maintained. I mean, not doing gymnastics. I mean, what happened after? I mean, being a national champion. What happened then afterwards? I mean, did you decide to give it up, or it's not going to be a career, and you had to go and find a job or something?
Yeah, actually, it was rather physical limitations because, you know, when you do so intense training in adolescence, I did have knee problems and inflammations, and there was a risk that the growth actually wouldn't be harmonious of my body. So I needed to stop the competition, and I just continued with rock and roll and stuff like that at a later age. But at a given point, I needed to stop the competition. And actually, the gymnastics was kind of a replacement for the circus, because my mother said, okay, I will not allow you to go to the circus, but what you can do is go to gymnastics training. And so that's why I became a gymnast, because I wasn't able to go to the circus.
Now, I'm just going to pause you there because I want to know what sort of gymnastics you did. But we have Emily. Emily's just joined. Hi, Emily. Hello. Hello, Emily. Are you there? Somewhere? Yes. If you can. Emily, when you're ready. I can't hear or see you. Right, well, Emily has joined, and we could just have a quick song. She says she's in the middle of music rehearsals. But I'm guessing, if you're there, Emily. Right, here you are. Right. Hi, Emily. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Emily.
Hi.
You're going to do a quick song and then disappear.
Yes, we're just in the middle of a rehearsal. Sorry.
Right. Okay. So we have Doris. Doris is our guest today. So
Hi.
You met Doris. You met Doris in Lausanne.
Yes.
Actually, she's in Lausanne. You could meet up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're both in Lausanne. So,
but didn't you met? I think no, you didn't met when we.
Yeah, we did. We met.
Yeah, we did.
You
Yes.
met. You were also in the meeting, so you can get pizza in the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you could have sang at Emily's place, Doris's place, or Doris could have come to your place. Right. Right. Actually, I asked in the questionnaire if you can sing. Doris, did you say that you would love to sing, but you can't?
I mean, I can sing, but it's at your own risk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can join in if you want. So, Emily, quickly then, because, I don't want to delay you. We just want to hear your beautiful voice, because since Doris met you as well, and I kept saying that you're the singer. So introduce who's with you on the piano, what song you're going to sing.
Okay, so I have here Nicola. Hello, beautiful Nicola. So she is, we have a duo together, and we have 2 concerts coming up for anyone who lives in Switzerland. One next on the 18th of March in Morges, and one on the 24th of March in Lausanne.
Nothing planned for 22nd of March?
24th of March.
Yes, 22nd.
22nd. Are you in Switzerland on the 22nd?
No, I'm getting colder.
Okay.
Right. Well, send a. I keep telling you to do a promotional video.
I know.
And
sorry.
I'll post it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Anyway, so this is in rehearsal. I mean, for the show you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So what's the theme of the show?
The theme is like music through time. So we start from like 1930s, 40s, and we make our way up through the decades to the 2000, like to now, basically.
Ah, you're going to do some dancing like the Charleston as well?
Oh, we don't dance, I'm afraid.
You don't dance?
No, that
How
costs.
how can you be a singer and you don't dance?
I mean, I move, I sway.
All right, okay. So the song today is?
It's an old song by Destiny's Child called Survivor.
Oh, right, okay.
Don't tell me you haven't heard of Destiny's Child, James.
I've heard of the song I Will Survive, but it's not that one, I guess. No. Well, maybe once you start singing it, I'll recognize it. So, okay. Without further ado, Emily, the stage is yours.
All right, thank you. Now that you're out of my life, I'm so much better. You thought that I'd be weak without you, but I'm stronger. Thought that I'd be broke without you, but I'm richer. Thought that I'd be sad without you, I laugh harder. Thought I wouldn't grow without you, now I'm wiser. Thought I'd be hopeless without you, but I'm smarter. Thought that I'd be stressed without you, but I'm chilling. Thought I wouldn't sell without you, so now a million. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it, I will survive and keep on surviving. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it, I will survive and keep on surviving. Thought I couldn't breathe without you, I'm in heaven. Thought I couldn't see without you, perfect vision. Thought I couldn't last without you, but I'm lasting. Thought that I would die without you, but I'm living. Thought that I would fail without you, but I'm on top. Thought it'd be over by now, but it won't stop. Thought that I was self-destruct, but I am still here. Even in my years to come, I still won't be here. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it, I will survive and keep on surviving. Wishing you the best, pray that you are blessed. Success, no stress, and lots of happiness. I'm better than that, I'm not gonna blast you on the radio. I'm better than that, I'm not gonna lie to you and your family know I'm better than that. I'm not gonna hate you in the magazines. I'm better than that, I'm not gonna compromise any part of me. I'm better than that, I'm not gonna test you on the internet, 'cause my mama told me better than that. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it, I will survive and keep on surviving. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it, I will survive and keep on surviving.
Wow.
Very beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, very, very good. I mean, to hear both their voices coming at the same time, and then, yeah, excellent. Very powerful song.
You knew it, right? You know the song. Did you recognize it?
Yeah, but I think it's very relevant for today as well. I think also for guests, because the whole idea for the guests is they're telling their stories and they've survived to tell the story and everything that they've gone through. So yeah, you picked the perfect song.
Good. Good.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank
You just came on time because I have to leave as well. To Doris, keep in touch. Good to meet you here as well.
Yeah, it's always good to see you. See you soon, Marianne. Thank you very much, Emily.
Have a good day.
Wonderful.
Bye.
No problem. Thank you so much. James, you can send me the recording after so I can properly do the story.
Yeah, send us the link of the shows again. And I don't know. I mean, if Doris is based in Lausanne and she's free, I don't know. She can come along or something.
Yeah, I will do. I'll send it to you now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, have a great weekend. Thanks, Boyan. Thanks, girls.
Bye.
Bye. Right, Doris, back to you. That was a great song, actually.
Yeah, love it.
I think it's quite appropriate. I don't believe in luck. I believe in coincidence. I believe in serendipity. Right. So, yeah, I think that song meant a lot. So let's carry on. So, Doris, let's move this along and get to where you are now and what you're doing. So within your career, I mean, from the gymnastics and everything and giving that up, you went into kind of the corporate world, or what types of jobs did you do before you transitioned into doing what you're doing now? And was there a turning point that drove that decision?
Yeah. I started my career in cosmetics and perfumery, where I worked around a decade, and I shifted to textile for haute couture and prêt-à-porter in a high brand world. And it goes always by decade, actually. I worked that around the decade, and then I changed. I came back to food, because actually my grandfather and my father are chocolate makers, chocolate and biscuit makers. And I spent a big part of my childhood in my grandparents' biscuit factory. So I fell in the meringue pot when I was a child. And so I went back to food and culinary world as a culinary specialist and as a home economist. Where
let me just stop you there. Right. So do they still have a chocolate factory or a biscuit factory? I mean, is it still around?
No, unfortunately, my granddad passed away way too early. And there was no one who could take it over. So it's not existing anymore.
All right. And there's no chocolate factory anywhere, like Willy Wonka's?
Oh, in Switzerland, yes, but not owned by my family.
Oh, no, in Switzerland, yeah. Yeah, I'm a chocoholic, by the way, so I love chocolate. Yeah, so
yeah, I went back where my DNA was in the corporate world. That's where I traveled all around the world and getting to know basically all culinary traditions in the world, I would say, known ones. And all that actually allowed me to play with the six senses, from the outside and from the inside. This is also when I realized that what you can see outside is a mirror of what happens inside. And I also learned all the different nutritional sciences like Ayurveda. I've been trained during that period in Chinese traditional medicine, in Ayurveda also. And I've really learned the impact of food on the body and the mind, and that it is a very powerful healing tool that the big pharmacy industry is not very happy to let grow, because obviously it's a big competition. If we use our food as our medicine, like Hippocrates told already at his time. So, and I still work with those healing methods, of course. And so this is basically in terms of career where I was working, and really the red thread is the transformation of things into beauty, into useful or profitable things for the body, for the system, and really getting the essence out of something. And this is basically the talent I have, the genius I have, is transforming things into good or better.
Yeah, no, I love that. And exactly what you said. I think everything's out there in nature.
Yes.
We don't need, which we tend to rely on heavily, is everything that's been pushed by the pharmaceutical industry. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't some things that are beneficial, but a lot of the time, if you could avoid the problem in the first place, prevention, I mean, there's an expression, prevention is better than cure, right? Yes. So I'm not saying you can avoid everything, but if you ate the right foods and you applied the right diet and to get the right nutrients and everything, then you wouldn't be as sick as you are today.
Detox, de-stress, right food, and you're in balance, and
yes,
there will be no troubles.
And plenty of chocolate.
Chocolate is actually healthy food if you choose the right composition of chocolate. Now, there is really two different philosophies. There is the industrialized world where health means absence of disease, whereas the more Oriental approach is health is if you are in balance. And a good Chinese doctor is a doctor that has healthy patients.
Yeah.
Because he or she keeps them healthy. This is when he is paid for. Traditionally, the Chinese or even the Thai doctors or the traditional doctors in Asia are paid when the patient is healthy. And they come for free when there is someone that has a disease. Because basically, the doctor wasn't able to keep the person in balance and healthy, right? So it's really an opposite philosophy. And my path has showed me that the Oriental way of looking at health is way more sustainable, is more efficient, and is really beneficial for humankind.
Yeah,
it is natural.
Yes, of course.
God designed us as a whole system.
Yes.
You know, the close, natural laboratory. I couldn't say the word. So we have everything well connected, well knitted, and we don't need extra stuff, which they're pushing on us for the last few years. Well, the last 100 years, but the last few years was the worst.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what we've seen over the last 3 years is medicine being pushed upon you rather than alternatives. And Was there alternative remedies and treatments? Absolutely. Were there things that can prevent and cure? Absolutely. But as soon as you start talking about them, you're shut up. I mean, yeah, nobody's asking about the alternative ways that we can help one another and the natural ways. Yeah. It just seems to be a push on the non-natural ways and forcing something that's not even tested properly. And that's when kind of a lot of people started waking up to the fact that there are alternatives out there. And I think a change of mindset, people started to question why. And then once you started asking questions, then you start to discover other things. So, yeah, I mean, you've probably seen over the last 3 years in particular, there's been a massive push on natural products. Now, whether it's natural beauty products, natural products for eating, kind of the more sustainable lifestyles, then a lot of my guests have talked about a whole range of these things. And this is something that it'd be nice to set up a panel discussion to talk about, because, I mean, like even like Galia and Doris yourself, I mean, just talking about what either of you are doing is something that an audience would like to listen to, but also we can bring in other people that are being guests and have a great discussion on it, because I think that there's a need to know, and people want to know, but they don't know where to look. And it's kind of an education. So everybody's kind of going through this learning. We also had just digressing a bit, we also had a lady from California talking about microdosing. And I knew nothing about that. I mean, I'd heard of mushrooms, but that was the days I lived in Amsterdam, right? And it was for a different experience. But so a combination of all of these discussions together would be a massive learning curve for people.
Let's do the 31st of March. If Doris is available and to check on other ladies. 31st of March. James, if you don't have any other...
yeah, I need to check out some dates, because it's getting near Easter and it's kind of school holidays and stuff. But
I mean, James, this conversation is absolutely needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because, as you said, people don't know where to look. And me as a first, because in 2015, I fell into a severe burnout. Like nothing went. It was like if you tear the plug out of the home and there is no electricity, no nothing. I couldn't even get up to make myself a cup of tea. Right, so it was really severe, and my family looked after me, which prevented me from being hospitalized. And took me 2 years to recover from it. And the doctors told me, you must file for invalidity insurance because you won't be able to go back to work or to have a normal life. And I had really I suffered from premature aging. And at that time I was 55, and my physiological age was evaluated at 65. And then I've decided that it's not going to be like that. And I've pulled all the expertise I had through the different professions I had in my life, and the experiences and the skills I had. And I tested a lot of different things. I invested massive money into that because this was my life that I was basically saving, right? Because there was no other option. And I created my own healing system for myself. 2 years later, I did the same blood work, and my physiological age has shifted to 48.
Wow, congratulations.
And I looked 10 years younger than what I looked 5 years before. And I felt like that too. And this is where I told myself, now, I'm not the only one that goes through that. I'm not the only one who needs that. And I made a system out of it. And this is what I teach today, right? And so I really succeeded to recover fully and even to get better than before. And people need to know that it's not complicated, that they have everything already inside. But it's like if you get an engine and there is no user manual kind of thing, you know? So once I found the user manual, and this is now what I'm teaching to people, to my clients. I have one of my students who had always very heavy migraines, and she was on medication, and we started working together for more aesthetical reasons for her to really rejuvenate. And then once she comes into a session and said, Doris, I don't know what we did, but I was to renew my doctor's prescription for my medication for the migraines. And I just noticed that it's 2 months I didn't take anymore because I didn't have any migraines. It wasn't an objective of our work, but the work we did had the impact on her that she was again aligned with her body, her spirit, and her mind, and this was all she needed to get rid of massive and debilitating migraines. So this is what I do, and this is what I'm passionate about, because there is simple tools that don't take hours and hours per day, but step by step, and then you're mastering. You don't need to delegate to someone else to look after you. You look after yourself.
Don't give your power and knowledge to somebody else.
Exactly. And then you become responsible for yourself,
yeah,
and aware of yourself. And this is so empowering. This is so empowering, because when you need to trust someone else to take care of you, you know, okay, is that the right medication? Is that the right therapy? Whereas if you can do it yourself and you see the progress and you see that you have healing powers, this is something that is very empowering mentally also. Say, hey, I can do that. I have everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I absolutely.
But this is why they're trying to disconnect us, to abort the souls, and to disconnect our connection with the creator. And this is the biggest war actually we're having. And this war is spiritual, and it is then it's projecting into our dimension. But what you said, it's very true actually. And to me, the same keep telling people, why you go to the doctor, you trust the doctor more, because we don't know ourselves. This is the bottom line. We don't know ourselves. We don't know our source. We don't know how resourceful we are by DNA, and we don't love ourselves. If you do, who can go to somebody else and say, hey, you know better than me, go and tell me what is wrong with me?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we could talk about this all day long, because it is a passion of mine as well, because waking up to discovering who you are, which, I mean, similar to you, Doris, in 2016, I went through something very similar, and you can kind of go beyond burnout, right? When you've got a family and kids to look after, you have to keep going. Right? There's no one else, and particularly when you're living in a country that's not yours, you don't have that support mechanism, right? So you have to keep going, whether you like it or you don't. But it gives you the opportunity to start to question. And I mean, first of all, it's about all the questions and the negativity. And then once you start to discover more, then you switch from the negative to the positive, and you look at the future and what is possible. And it's your mindset. The biggest problem is not what's out there, it's what's inside. And if you can't come to terms with yourself and understand yourself, then you're the only one that can change that. I mean, you can have medication or prescriptions, you can do whatever you want, but if you don't accept what it is that needs to be changed, it'll never change. But going on the natural product way is definitely that. So there's both kind of what you eat, but then there's their mindset as well and how you believe, because a lot of that is your mind playing tricks with you. And once you accept that and you change your mindset, and you can, like, as you said, like with the dolphins, you're tapping into a frequency. Yes. Because everything is a frequency. Tesla talks about a frequency. Everything is a frequency. And once we connect with that, then it radiates out to others. And then others join in because they want to be part of it. And I mean, what you're doing is already connecting us, because I absolutely love what you do, but more so because I know your story. And I know Gália's story, so I can see the connection with all of us. But then I know other people's stories, so it's about bringing it all together. But anyway, so Doris, I don't want to keep you all day, but I want to get to the point of what are you doing? How do you do it? Who do you do it with? I mean, who are your typical clients? And how do you do this? Is it one-to-one, one-to-many, online, in face-to-face? Or tell us a bit about that.
Right. So what I do is I help women and men to really align themselves to rejuvenate, to regenerate, and to restore, which means rejuvenate by 10 years. I can really affirm that, and keep it that way for the next 15 years. Regenerated cell level, which means really erasing past traumatic memories that sit in the cells, and restore vitality by working on the energy centers to align them, and to know how to erase, even if it's a day, a stressful day, how to erase that day in order to go back to balance. So it's at the same time anti-aging strategies. It's eliminating the aging accelerators from the lifestyle one by one, and promoting lifestyle and habits and practices that are enhancing and slowing down the aging process. So this is what I do. I work in English and in French through a teleconference. It works very well. And as every individual is different, your story is not the same than Gália one's or than mine, which means that you're gonna react differently. So the program is tailor-made according to a questionnaire at the departure and the discussion with every individual to see, okay, what is the objectives of this person, and then we work towards the objectives. So each program is different, and I develop the program as we go along, because the speed of progress is not the same for everybody either, right? And this is very important, because we tend to compare. Oh, she did that in 3 months. Why am I not at the same level in 3 months? No, you're not, because you're not the same person. Right? So stop comparing and look inside what's possible. And that's the way I work. And I do give a success guarantee or full payback of the investment, 100%. And no one does that. I do it because I've never had anyone who did not exceed the expectations and the objectives that we set at the beginning. So I know very well when I engage myself into an objective, that it's going to work. If the person does the work, of course, because I can't do it on your place, right? If your daily practice is done and you're responsible for yourself, then it's going to work. And I can transmit everything I know with all the tools that I'm providing in the program. So, but the person needs to do the work. And this is why at the very beginning, I ask 2 questions. What do you want? And what are you ready to do or not to do to get it? It's like Hippocrates, who says, before treating a patient, ask him if he's ready to abandon what made him sick in the first place. Right? So, and then I can engage and say, okay, this I can do. If you have another objective, I will say, no, I cannot reach that objective with you. You need to find someone else, or I can recommend someone else. So when I engage in a work with someone, I'm giving the 100% success guarantee.
No, I love it, which is very fair, because then you probably never, I mean, you'll never have to do it, because I mean, everything that you said makes perfect sense. And yeah, it just gets me thinking. I mean, there's tons of kind of professional people out there that do different things, but it doesn't mean that you have to compete against each other, because exactly what you said, you could formulate a program together, and not until you actually start speaking to the client do you actually see that maybe they don't need part of that. We need to go off on a different route.
Yes.
And like I was always taught that sell the program before you've created it, because you don't know how it's going to go. I mean, you have in your mind the structure and everything else. So you have the formula, but it doesn't mean that you have to, like, I find that sometimes when you give a program, that you can scare people away because they don't want certain parts of it. And it's not that you really wanted to give them anyway. You just wanted to show something that you can do.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Now, there is also some people say, oh, I don't need that. And sometimes I say, yes, you do. So a coach is also sometimes there to say something that will not be pleasant, or that might not be something you would buy in the first place. But then when I say, okay, you do need to change the way you give nutrition to your body, right? You like it, you don't like it, but you do need it. So that's also kind of butt kicking is also my role, and making people aware of maybe patterns they're in since 30 years. And it takes some stepping back, or someone who holds the mirror in front of your face and says, look, you're doing that since 30 years. It will need some time to deconstruct and build something else, right? So if you want to rejuvenate, you're going to need to do that, because otherwise it's not going to happen. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier, I mean, this could be for men and for women. So yes. Is it for a particular age group of men and women?
I would say 45 plus, because for women specifically, it's the period where premenopause, menopause starts to kick in, and where the metabolism has different needs, whereas we carry on with the same patterns and with the same habits. And there is when there is a big risk of getting out of balance. And with men also, because men rather in the 50s, because there is a period where men are under the most pressure professionally, and where the most cardiac problems hit because of the high tension, hypertension, and a high stress level. And men really need to manage their stress in order to get to 70 vital and in good shape, right?
Yeah, exactly. So your typical clients then would be business professionals that are feeling kind of the stress at work, maybe pre or post or during burnout.
Yes.
Because you kind of get the telltale signs that something's going to happen, and people typically don't address it, and then it manifests into something bigger, and then before they know it, they're on their back and they can't take any of it. And if they're very unfortunate, which is a big problem in Switzerland, they go and do something silly and jump off a bridge.
Yeah.
Which happens all the time. So obviously we want to help people avoid that, but also help them rejuvenate themselves in a way that they can not just feel younger, they can actually look younger. So all that stress that they're wearing on their face and their body, they can remove that as well.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so your clients could be anywhere in the world then. I mean, you can do it online. You can do it online.
Yeah.
Okay. So anywhere in the world, and you've had clients from all over the world.
Yes.
Right. And
yes,
one other thing I want to just touch on before we wrap this up is you're an author.
I am an author.
Excellent. So just say the book title there.
The book is 10 Years Younger in 10 Minutes a Day. This is a book about a face yoga method. It's one of the pillars of my holistic teachings. So the face yoga is really to rejuvenate the face and to work on energy levels for the whole body. So it's one of the aspects of the holistic teaching we have talked about. And I would say it's really a first approach to how to become more aware of what happens on your face and in your head. I mean, this is basically the core center of command of the whole body, right? And all the nerves and all the energy flows go from the head downwards. So once we work with the head and the face, we have an impact on the whole body. And this is why I wrote this book. And I was awarded, together with the courses I'm offering online, by the French magazine Marie-France, with the first prize of well-being for this year, 23.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Right, and the book is quite recent, is it?
Yes, the French version came out in September and the English version in December. So it's available at Amazon. Just type 10 Years Younger in 10 Minutes a Day or Doris Oberholzer. Very easy in Amazon, in Kindle or in paperback version, yes.
Right. And your publisher is the same publisher as ours, is it?
No, actually, this is self-published at Amazon.
All right.
Now, I am seeking a French publisher to get the book into the French libraries. And there is translation work, actually. I have a publisher in Estonia who will bring my book to Estonia. So the translation work is currently happening.
All right. So as we met at the
we can do in Bulgarian if you wish. We can talk about this.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, yes.
For sure. But as we've already met in person, I mean, we, as Featured Business, 10 previous guests co-authoring a book, and we're sharing our stories, which will be to help motivate, inspire, nurture, and fundamentally learn, because you're going to learn a lot from the guests. But the most important thing is to bring hope. And there's a lot of people lacking hope at the moment and feel all the doom and gloom. So to share our stories, then it shows people that there is a way and we will survive, right? And it doesn't matter what you go through, because I know that there's so much more we didn't touch on, Doris, with your story. I mean, it's quite heartbreaking as well. But we can definitely have you back and we can share more about you. And because it's so much to actually share, it's impossible to do it within the time frame that we have for the show. But nevertheless, I mean, I've read it and I absolutely admire you first. And I love what you do. And yeah, I think there's definitely going to be bigger and better things that we can collectively do. And we just bring the right people together and we share experiences. And yeah, it's all to help people at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I would love to do is really creating a forum, a safe place where one can drop the mask, not being judged, not feeling exposed, and where solutions, concrete solutions are offered. Because when I see how people talk about aging, there is such a heavy taboo. No one talks about when they go home crying because someone say, oh, you're fat or you're old or whatever, or when at the workplace you don't get a job because you're too old, or a man who lost a tennis play because he's running not as fast as before, and it hurts, and people are in pain, people are suffering, and no one talks about that. No one dares to say, I was so hurt by what this person told me around aging, right? There is huge taboo. Everything, oh yeah, okay, aging, and it's just you need to accept. No, that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't help. I mean, all through my life, there's always been age restrictions and things. You're too young to drive, then you're too young to get into clubs, you're too young to drink. Then once you've got over that, now you're too old. I can't be in the 1830s club anymore, right, and go off on these wild holidays, right? Mm-hmm. But I thought, well, I still feel kind of young like that. Why can't I have these holidays anymore? Well, you're too old, right? And then you're treated in a different way. Now, particularly in the workplace, once you get over 50, you're on the scrap heap. Yeah. Nobody's interested. Yeah, you still get the application forms that you have to fill in and you have to put your age. I think surely it's not the age, it's the relevance of fulfilling the desire and the needs of the job. And we have lots of experience, and then they'll hide behind that. Well, you're too old, you'll have a health problem. Well, hang on, maybe I won't. How do you know? You're too old, that you're too set in your own ways. And I think, no, actually, I've learned a lot. I mean, I teach startup students, right, from all over the world, and they're young, but they're so naive, right? They, are very attentive to the lessons that I give, because they see me as the expert that has the experience. But in the corporate world, I'm too old. Right? Yeah.
So, you don't have the energy of the young people they want to suck. That is the reason why.
Yeah, so I'm all for, like you said, creating this safe environment that people can open up and say. I mean, at the end of the day, it's also how you deal with the criticism. I mean, fear and anxiety and all of this and stress. I mean, I just let it wash over me now. I don't care. People can say what they want, right? That's their prerogative. They can. I can't control that, but I can control the way I feel about it.
Yes, because it's a choice. It's a choice how you feel about something. But most people, they suffer their emotions and they are not controlling how they respond to external influences. And it starts there.
It does. But I think it goes even further back, right back to your childhood. I see with my kids, I mean, they're at school and they don't know how to deal with fear, anxiety, bullying, teasing, things that you're not taught about at school.
Yeah. Because
emotional intelligences aren't on the curriculum. So you don't understand what they are first. And then when you have them, you don't understand how to deal with them. And then if you don't deal with like fear at school, you go to the workplace with fear. And then the fear is a bigger challenge then because you've got adults creating that. But anyway, enough said on that, because we could talk about these subjects all day. And this is why I really would like to open up a panel discussion and bring on several guests, and everybody can speak and share their experiences, right? Because there isn't kind of one answer. I mean, there's a combination of many.
Yeah.
So, Doris, you have been our 118th wonderful guest.
Yes.
Right? I love the colors as well, because they're the featured business colors. Right?
Yes.
So you have to co-host with me the next one now, because you look like a co-host.
Yeah, would love to.
Right. Actually, we could co-host the panel discussion, right? Because,
absolutely. Yes.
Because
brilliant.
I can help facilitate it, but I would play a part of it, but it's the guests, that the experts, that will get them to open up a discussion, and it could be a discussion.
I can ask the tricky questions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get that arranged, right?
Yes, definitely.
And I'm sure that there's many, and then we'll fix a date, and then we'll set an agenda, and we'll have lots of different topics, but all around the same thing. It's got to be well-being, quality of life, natural products, health, and
yes, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Right. Okay. So, Doris, once again, you've been a fantastic guest. Is there any kind of closing words that you want to leave us with?
I would say, if anybody is intrigued by or interested by the conversation that we had together, please reach out to me. We can book a call, we can have a conversation together about what your questions are, what your preoccupations are, and how to address them. So I'm more than happy to respond. So just contact me at Doris at Just Do Face Yoga, or at the site Just Do Face Yoga, all my platforms, Facebook or Instagram, are under the same name, Just Do Face Yoga. So you can reach me easily, and I will be very, very happy to find solutions for you and with you.
Excellent. Thanks, Doris. What I'll do is I'll share the links. I've got the links here.
Mm-hmm.
When I post it on the YouTube channel, I'll put the links there, and also the bio, so people can have a quick look and just a refresher, particularly if people haven't watched the whole of the show. But also, maybe just a thought for this show, you could give us a kind of a teaser kind of intro into what you're talking about, like what you have talked about, and then we can post that as well. So people don't have to watch the whole thing. If they watch the teaser, it might encourage them to watch the whole thing, which then even better. Right. Gaia, also for your previous one, you could give a teaser about the topic you talk about. Right. It just helps to kind of promote it, because someone's not just going to look at an hour and a half video and just start watching. But if
it's quite long. Yeah.
Yeah, if they know the content of that and it appeals to them, then I've watched things that are 5 hours long, right? Because I was so fascinated with the topic. I couldn't get enough of it. But I wouldn't just do that unless I saw something that was kind of the trailer hooking me.
Yeah. So I will definitely make that and send it to you. I tried to do it today.
Excellent. Okay. So thank you, Doris. Thank you, Galia, also for being in the audience and a great member of the audience, and for the others that were on earlier. And for anyone watching this, then feel free to reach out to Doris, and the contact details are there. So on that note, I wish you all a wonderful weekend, and I'm looking forward to my next week's guest.
Thank you very much, James. It was lovely being here. Thank you, Gaia, for the company.
Wow, that was another Featured Business brought to you by Visibility Impact. If you'd like to be our next featured guest or learn how James Mofat can help you leverage on the art and power of interactive storytelling for your business, reach out and schedule a call now.